Ladies and gentlemen, I want to welcome you here today to the 21st round of XRL's X3 Division. I'm your host for today's broadcast, Insanely Air 13. We're preparing to get underway for our first round of qualifying here. 17 cars will be taking to the track. I'm joined by my co-host today, PZ French Fry Man. PZ, it's good to have you here with us once again.
Same as usual. Well, Russia ain't it ain't one of the favorite tracks of every people, but it is a very technical track, even though it does have a lot of room for errors and stuff. But we might see some good things happening in qualies.
Indeed, 17 cars coming into the qualifying session, so with that in mind, it means that 2 drivers will not advance to the next round. As we prepare to get underway onto the circuit, a big thing to consider is that most of the corners at this track are 90 degrees or near 90 degrees. It really is not very practical to go side by side through the corners here. Because of that, there's really only 2 braking opportunities here. You have, not braking, there's only 2 real overtaking opportunities. The end of the 2 DRS straights, and that's kind of it. Other than that, if you're going to make a position, you're probably capitalizing off of someone else's misfortunes.
Or maybe you're trying to go for a kamikaze move.
Well, this is the home annual caveat, so I could see that. First driver to get onto the track is going to be the Red Bull of Plastic Love. Plastic is in an interesting, frustrating scenario today because his teammate and championship contender XRL X3 is serving a qualifying ban for today. He is not the only one. Herbago is also serving a qualifying ban. The 17 cars showing up, and those 2 drivers serving qualifying ban. Basically, all the 15 drivers that are left have to do is just get a lap in, and they're automatically guaranteed to move into the next round of quality.
So we're just crossing our fingers and hoping not to see anyone just tank it into the wall.
Below today will be the second driver to come out into the circuit, and he'll be followed afterwards by the AlphaTauri of Lucky Do, 9757. And now we're seeing more drivers coming down pit lane. That is JR Footballer coming down, as is Jalebin. So 5 cars taking to the circuit right now.
And we have JR Footballer 26 on his outlap, and Jalebin also.
Alright, currently, as we're seeing now, a lot more movement on pit lane. Plastic Love's going to come across the line, as will Veloce to get his lap going. But what I want to do this every single time, I want to go ahead and get this out early. We're going to go silent in the booth for a full lap on board with the AlphaTauri of Lucky Do 9757. See what a lap is around Sanchi as we go quiet in the booth for a circuit.
And yellow flag in sector 2 and 3. What happened? First lap in for Busted Motor 133.837. Immediately overtook by XRL X3 with a 33.620.
And now Lucky Dude goes to the top with a 132.337. The interesting thing of note, though, that Veloce went ahead and set his time on the medium tires. He's not the only one. Jigsaw, Irons, and Schumacher all have medium tires equipped right now. Again, in a situation like this where 15 drivers are taking the circuit, they're all guaranteed to advance, you can almost treat this as a throwaway session for a set of tires you're not interested in, or use this as a glorified practice run.
Well, the thing I do look at right now is Plastic Love posting, well, so far the slowest lap of them all, 2/10 behind Veloce, who did this lap on the medium compound. Now, the other interesting question I have is, will we see somebody send a lap in the 131s, or even better in the 130s?
From what I've been hearing, talking to the drivers in the other tiers, 130 seems to be very only in the realm of X1 drivers. But I do think we could see drivers hitting the 131s if they set a fast lap on softs in Q2. And I think 131s are almost a guarantee for quality. If it goes to the top again with the medium tires with 32.231.
So, seeing low 32s with a set of mediums, we might be able to see somebody post a lap in the 131s. Maybe the fastest in 131.5. But I have my doubts on the question.
As it stands right now, 8 drivers have set their lap times. It's a massive spread from the top to the bottom. 5.6 seconds separate Veloce and Jigsaw on the timesheets at the moment. I'm watching Schumacher just kind of pitter-patter around the circuit. He's not really pushing. I have to wonder if they intentionally massively underfueled that car in pit lane so that way he can go for one blistering lap. But he's definitely throwing a lot of yellow flags just due to how slow he's taking some of these corners.
I'm really hoping this does not have any influence on anybody else posting a lap and going by Schumacher. Doesn't seem to be the case though, which is kind of weird in a sense. As we see a couple other guys that haven't posted a lap yet on their out lap.
That's Snake there in the McLaren who's dragging down the back straightaway right now. Ocean Lions just entered Sector 2 as well. And Shelby Spark has finally gotten onto the circuit. Shelby, like his teammate Schumacher, is electing to set his time in this session on the medium tire compounds.
Just like you said, are we seeing the riders throw out a set of mediums and hoping they could survive on mostly soft compound during the race?
I could see that happening. Mainly because
kind of hard because the track, as you said in the beginning, is mostly 90 degrees turn, which will right off eat the tires if they take the corners not smoothly. And as you pointed out last week, some people here are playing on the controller. So this might be an advantage if you're doing the race on the steering wheel, but not with the controller.
Well, you say that would be hard, but frankly, it looks like the tires are on our mediums. But to be 100% honest, I think this strategy could end up working out because mediums typically last for a long time. What drivers like Irons, Jigsaw, Shelby, Schumacher can all do, they can go ahead, set a lap on the mediums, immediately come into the pits, and then reuse that same set of mediums in Q2. At that point, the tires have gone through a process known as scuffing. They've already had a heat cycle going through them. Typically, when a tire has already been used a little bit like that and gets thrown back on again, they get right back up to temperature even faster than before. That might make the medium tires a little bit more practical for use. Oh, Jesus, what in the world? And Jigsaw gets blocked by Schumacher, as Schumacher was on a cooldown lap and Jigsaw was on a flyer.
Gotta wait for Mr. Schumacher to be on the inside of P3 in his cooldown lap, as for me, I would have put myself on the outside and not blocking anyone.
Right now, Chubby Spark and Ocean Liar are both coming to the line as we speak, going into the last two corners for Ocean. Now last corner. And Lion will set a time 132.998. I think realistically we only see one guy really hoofing it out there on the medium tires thus far, and that's been Veloce. Everyone else on the mediums have set times in the 34s or lower.
I believe Veloce is trying to see what kind of speed he can get with the mediums before actually posting his fastest laps with the softest compound available, which is a strategy in itself. Just
yeah, again, with 15 drivers here and 2 of them already serving qualifying bans, you can really use these 18 minutes for kind of whatever you want. We see right now Boothby 116 and XRL Flavor are both out on the circuit, about to start their flyer laps.
I believe most people now are really just battering around the track, trying to get a feel of the grip all the way around, as the weather doesn't seem to be an issue for the moment. I do not know what will happen during the race, and honestly, nobody knows what the weather has in reserve for us during the race.
Watching XRL Flavor right now as he's coming out of the end of Sector 1, 33.948. Flavor, not typically great when it comes to pace on track. He normally makes up most of his positions due to, yes, going much longer on tires than anyone else, and then avoiding time penalties for the most part. So he ends up catapulting himself well up the grid. But I will also say that Flavor has spent nearly the entirety of this season of X3 using that strategy. It's worked well enough for him. It's gotten him quite a few points. But I've talked to a lot of other people. They're starting to get a little bit upset and aggravated with Flavor, his on-track ability, or possibly lack thereof. They're looking for him to up the pace and actually start fighting, properly defending, rather than trying to move over and let other people pass. A big issue with that, though, is that a big thing that happens with Flavor is that he runs or breaks checks the field behind him just so he can get offline and let them all by, and ends up having a cascading domino effect down the field. We saw that real badly in Yas Marina a few laps ago. So I would not be surprised to see Flavor maybe being, kind of motivated to try and step up the pace and at least try actively fighting for positions over these last few races of the season. Schumacher...
I mean, who doesn't want to up their pace, especially on tracks where you feel at ease. It's difficult to be at ease around Sochi because basically walls everywhere. It's not like Monaco type, but still there's rooms for error in a couple of corners, but there's a couple of them where it's pretty much non-existent.
Ooh, Boothby with a big twitch there going through Sector 3. And that's one other thing. Not only do you have the walls, but in Sector 3, there's several corners that are very significantly off camber. It's really hard to properly keep the car on the racing line through there. Boothby will set a time 134.850. It's just really, really difficult to get good runs, and you step out and you fight so hard to save the car. We've seen guys grab the car, but when they get control of it again, their nose is facing a wall at that moment. The walls might not be right alongside you everywhere, but they're in a lot of inconvenient places.
Especially on the off-camber turn, which I believe is either 15 or 16. Yeah, it's really a difficult one, because either you go in too slow and you make it like you lose time, or you go in too hard and you might end up having, being a victim of the whiplash effect. the whip as you overcorrect it and and you start to lose the gun, your nose is going inside, and then as you overcorrect, your nose is looking outside, which in itself is what I call the whiplash effect.
Alright, well, Boothy on a cooldown lap right now. I'm watching on the track. Lucky Dude has gone back out into the circuit. He wants to try and go faster. And there's also one of the Alfa Romeos coming back onto the circuit. In the McLaren camp, Snake is on track still, but Fratters has not yet come out to the circuit. 3 minutes and 10 seconds left. There's a high risk that Fratters might not advance simply because he doesn't set time.
Well, look at himself right now. Q1 can end up, and Fratters will stay in 15th position. He will make it into Q2, even if he doesn't post a lap. So he might be playing the game where everybody else has posted a lap, and he might be looking at saving a set of tires for the race.
Well, I do want to say this. Right now, at the top of the timesheets is Stone Shuffle. He's just retired in the pit lane, but Stone Shuffle has set a time 132.071, so dangerously close to breaking the 32 barrier, and we will likely see a 31 in the next round of qualifying once more drivers are pushing. But I'm really impressed by Veloce on the medium tires, a 32.231. It's honestly pretty solid, to say the least, being able to set that. That showcases a lot of comfortability with the car. Now, granted, single lap pace isn't the same as full length pace, but it's still
might be seeing another fastest lap with Lucky Dude. Oh, so close. A 32.187.
Squeezes Veloce down to third on the sheets. And yet, Fratters will not set a lap in this session. So it's going to be iffy, though, because I've seen drivers try this before, and the game just doesn't allow them to move into the next round of qualifying. I, myself, don't think that we're going to see Fratters go into Q2. Right now, AlphaTauri are 2nd and 10th fastest on the timesheets. A lot of drivers, I honestly believe, are sandbagging. V8 Irons, Chubby Spark, Schumacher, Jigsaw. All 4 of those have a lot more speed to them. I got to talk with Chubby over the last few days. He said he's very happy and very confident with his ability here. Although for Chubby, he has his own problem, because I do want to say this. So you remember last week how that Ferrari made the massive dive bomb on the last lap to pick up 2 positions.
Yes, I do. That was... for me, it was a little forceful, but in the end, he did stick it, and everybody came out relatively unscathed.
Well, basically, everyone on the circuit, including officials, seemed to disagree. Chubby Spark ended up getting handed a massive 5-second penalty for the dive bomb that he pulled off, ended up dropping him from finishing 2nd all the way down to 8th. That moved Stone Shuffle up to 5th, so Shuffle was able to close in on the points gap. Stone Shuffle is so angry, he says that he's actively going to seek out Chubby Spark and ruin his race. There's also XRL Gusty, who the 2 of them made contact during the event. Gusty has said the same thing. And XRL Snake in the McLaren has also said that he will go out of his way to ruin Chubby Spark's championship for that last lap dive bomb as well. Drivers all actively trying, at least, to wreck or spin or dump your current championship points leader coming into today's event. And I'm not just saying this. It's not like, I heard through the grapevine. Like, no, most of this stuff has all been recorded in the series Discord. And if you're within the XRL Discord and have access to the X3 drivers yet, you can see that it's been popping off pretty aggressively. Schumacher SF7 also went through a prolonged investigation over the late race accident that he was a part of. The rule on that was was nothing, but it didn't matter because he was given, although he didn't even finish the race, he was given basically a full-on disqualification from the event, excessive blocking throughout the event as well. Schumacher has said and has gone on record multiple times saying he doesn't care about his run. He is only trying to focus on getting Ferrari the manufacturer's championship championship and gain his teammate the driver's championship, but it's not going to work out very well if you end up you get kicked from the series for excessive blocking. And you were right, Fratters will advance to the next round without using any of his tires.
We might see, so we might be able to see Fratters actually posting one of the, I'd say a quickest lap. I mean, the man has an extra set of tires, so might as well either use it during qualies or save it later for the race. He has the choice now.
So now it's the countdown until we get into qualifying round 2. This is a session where top 10 drivers at the end of the session end up deciding what their tire strategy is going to be going into the race itself. Apparently in the McLaren camp, there's a little bit of confusion as to what is going to go on and happen when it comes to setup. Will he still be allowed to alter and adjust the setup before getting into the session, or is he locked into the default setup? Because if he's locked into the default setup around here, I feel a little bit bad for him. Alright, but already we're seeing the first drivers coming down pit lane. That is XRL Veloce. Last session, third fastest time on the mediums. This session, what can he do on the softs? I pick Veloce as being the first driver to get into the 131s.
My money would be on either Stone Shuffle or for now I'm gonna put my money on Stone Shuffle alone because, well, he might have been on softs doing the fastest lap of Q1, and I also expect him to as well be again the fastest driver during Q2.
Well, here's a little bit of shenanigans going on. Schumacher SF7 is out on circuit on mediums. Behind him is Shelby Spark. He's on softs. There may be a chance that the two of those drivers are going to try and do some drafting and DRS shenanigans to artificially inflate Shelby Spark's time. At the same time, though, Shelby normally likes to go out in Q2 and turn his first lap on soft set of tires without touching ERS whatsoever, then go back out later on mediums, fully abusing the ERS. So it could be a kind of protracted game to try and mess with the heads of some of the other guys here. Of note, Boothie has medium tires on as well, but he is still on pit lane. JR Footballer is also out on circuit. He has been joined by XRL Flavor. They are going through Sector 2, now into Sector 3.
And Veloce is starting his first one.
DRS opens, they're flying down into turn number 1. Slams that DRS shut. How many corners is that? I understand first corner is that bend in the DRS straight, and then the second corner is right after that. But then you have this bit that Veloce has come out. Is that one big corner? Is that 3 corners? 5 corners? How many corners is that?
I mean, the first T1 is the bend within the DRS zone, as you mentioned, and the turn 2 is this right-hander, and turn 3 is basically the big left-hand curve that goes all the way around. I believe it's the fountain, or maybe the central place of the Sochella TikTok. And turn 4 is I believe the second hard braking zone.
So that entire arc is just one smooth corner. Okay, cool. Much appreciated. I won't lie, I'm too lazy and too stupid to look up that information after today's realistic race. I forgot about it altogether until now.
I mean, Sochi is probably the most hated track on the F1 calendar, and on the subject, as XRL posted the first lap of Q2, 136.412, I gotta ask your opinion about the next venue of the Russian Grand Prix, which is, I believe, Igor Drive, which is far up the north, around St. Petersburg. Any thoughts on the Russian Grand Prix just moving locations? New fastest lap 144.449 by XRL Flavor.
Sight we don't see very often. Flavor on the top of the timesheet that will change very shortly here as
Yeah,
Garrett
Football coming in again in the 32, just like in Q1.
Oh, and Boothie has had an accident. Boothie has had an accident. Coming to pit lane, the entire front wings ripped off that car. He's lucky that didn't total the front suspension. But on the concept of going to Igor Drive, I really am of a neutral mindset. I will admit that Sochi is probably like my bottom 3 in Formula 1 circuits right now. I honestly do not care for this track very much. I respect the fact that, you know, it's relatively decent for what they had and what they were trying to make do with, but I do not like it. I like parts of what the map shows for Igor Drive, but there's a difference between how a track looks and how it's actually going to drive. Remember, it was the third to last race of this most recent Formula 1 season. It's supposed to be a bike track. I don't remember what it's called. XRL, I believe it is. No one thought it was going to be good. I wasn't looking forward to it. And in the end, it ended up being a relatively decent race. I can't really fault...
The Portuguese Grand Prix of the 21 season?
Well, yeah, that too, but I was thinking more of the one that was under the lights, the race right before Jeddah. The one that Alonso put a podium on.
Oh no, that ain't Estrel, that is Losail.
Losail, thank you. Oh, and Shelby now goes to the top, 32.115. I'm just gonna go ahead and say this. And is really putting down at times compared to what I was expecting. I thought we'd be seeing a lot faster times across the right now. We're really not seeing them. There we are.
Finally, the first under the 32s. 131.804. And that's quite the bunch. 3/10 in second place.
The question, though, here's the thing. I don't think Chubby Spark used his ERS on that lap, and he was on one tire. I imagine we'll see Chubby improve on that time. Plastic Glove is in the middle of the lap right now. The next one across the line. But yeah, my opinion on circuits in general is I can't really make a serious, solid thought on them until after I've seen the race. So I've seen tracks where I thought, oh yeah, this could be a really, really cool circuit, and it ends up being garbage. I've seen circuits where it's like, oh, this could be a garbage circuit. It ends up being great. I think another good example. And then there are some circuits where I do not like the circuit and the way that's built on principle, but it ends up still providing good races. I do not like Baku and Baku type circuits with super long straightaways and a bunch of 90-degree corners. I don't think that's very conducive to good racing, but it always puts on a relatively decent show. My opinion will change based on how the actual on-track racing is going to be when they go to Agora Drive in the next few years. Right now, I'm not crazy about it, but I don't think it's the worst circuit. If anything, I think it might be a slight uptick in quality from the current Sochi circuit.
I'd say the thing I do like about Agora Drive being the circuit that hosts the future Russian Grand Prix for me is that it is a dedicated racetrack. We haven't seen one for a couple of times now. This is the last new track we've seen are, well, Jeddah, which is actually a mix between a dedicated and a city circuit. Then we had Baku before, if I'm correct. I mean, as far as I can go back, the last dedicated racetrack I think that was built for Formula 1 was the Circuit of the Americas in 2014 or 2013.
I thought it was 2013.
Damn, my memory's all over the fucking place.
Yeah. Well, Snake has just said I'm 133.226, so that's the new fastest time on the medium tire compounds. Boothie's on the mediums right now. His teammate Via Irons and Stone Shuffle are also both on laps right now. to see if you're right and Stone Shuffle can break into the 131s. But no, I do agree with, and that's the other thing. There are a lot of, and all right, I think everyone knows who Herman Tilke is at this point. Herman Tilke is pretty much the main #1 designer for Formula One circuits that were made during the late 90s going into most of the 2010s.
Well,
I don't think
actually, his first track was for, I believe, either 19. I have two dates, 1999 or 2001. The first track he built was the Sepang International Circuit for the Malaysian Grand Prix.
1999. So I have a friend named SRD Shredder. Him and I are doing a watch through of the 99 season. And that is his first year where they go to Malaysia. So yes, it is 99. You are correct. But yeah, in general, I don't think that Herman Tilke is a really good person when it comes to designing circuits. He had a few good hits early on, but most of the tracks that have come afterwards are just taking a lot of those elements from the earlier results and just rearranging them in gradually worse and worse ways. I'm not going to point to Circuit of the Americas because he technically didn't design Circuit of the Americas, but Circuit of the Americas was very plainly inspired by him. I think a big problem with Formula One's racetrack in general, though, is not...
Fastest 5, Veloce 131.625.
So great job on his part. Boothie is invalidated on his cooldown lap. The time is only 12th fastest thus far, so he needs to pick it up. Irons is on a cooldown lap right now. Stone Shuffle has set a 131.936, so you were right there. He was able to get below the 132s. Now Schumacher has jumped up 32.106. We still have one driver who has not yet set time. That's Fratters. They're waiting a long time to get out there on track in the McLaren camp.
Pretty weird from Fratters to actually not post a lap. But going back to the subject of racetracks and basically Herman Tilke, I do have now I'd say an enclosed opinion, because if anybody that is watching knows this Formula 1 YouTuber called Shane Bear F1, if I'm correct, he did post a video about that is called, I believe, Herman Tilke, A Legacy of F1 Semi Circuit, where he actually deconstructed the first track he made, Sepang, and at the end of the day, the man kind of came up with a recipe that worked once and kind of reapplied it for his next instances of racing tracks.
Yeah, almost like the M. Night Shyamalan of racetrack building. Oh, wait, I don't know. Wait, would you get that reference? Do they show M. Night Shyamalan movies in France?
If the English name is different from the French name, I might not get it. As to give you an example, I mean, the English
JR Footballer has just had a massive incident. He clambered over the curves in Sector 2, and the entire car lifted up into the air. That's the third time we've seen that this weekend. I wonder if that may have damaged the wing on landing, because we've seen that happen. We saw that happen to Zola yesterday in the realistic race. The cars jump over the curb, and when they slam on the ground, it slams the wing onto the ground, and it's been damaging and breaking the front wing end plates. I don't see any damage to that machine right now, though, but he's definitely pulled over and calmed down after that.
Either do I, or maybe he just went out of the track, gave way to the car behind him, as he is now clear of basically a third of the track.
Well, Snake is crossing the line, and he was the fastest driver on the medium tires, but 33.226 is really not going to get him into the next round by the looks of it. So they've gone ahead and thrown on softs on that McLaren. He's going back onto the circuit. Fratters has finally taken to the racetrack. He's in the middle of an outlap right now, as is Plastic Love, Boothie, and Flavor. They're all going to be trying to chase Ocean Lion, Snake, Garrett, Footballer, Glebin, and Jigsaw to get into the next round of quality here.
So as of now, will we see Ocean Lion going back on track and try to sneak into the top 10.
There's not enough time with 1 minute and 20 seconds left, and the lap here is more than 1.5 minutes. Even if Ocean Line left the pit lane right now, there he is. He retires in the pit, so he knows that he does not have a chance to move forward. To be fair, though, sometimes starting 11th, being in the top 10, because tire choice can be extremely important. I don't think that will be the case here, though. This will be frustrating for Snake. He runs and catches up to Flavor as Flavor is in the middle of his outlap. Hopefully it didn't compromise Snake's time too much. He will have time to go for another lap, but will he have the fuel to push for another lap if necessary? Snake jumps up to 8th with 32.612. Plastic Glove and Boothie both in the middle of laps right now. Flavor has crossed the line, and Fratters has now begun his lap. He will be the final driver to set time in the session, assuming he doesn't invalidate it.
But it might be possible to get it.
He invalidates it! And that's it! Fratters will not advance as he invalidates going through the braking zone of turn 2.
Kinda sad what happened. I mean, doesn't take much to do one lap at the beginning of the session, just to get, as you said, using a little bit of rubber to get the maximum grip you can have during the race. So now I believe we're looking at XRL Flavor trying to steal a couple of places, maybe sneak into the top 10. I mean, at least I hope makes it.
Plastic Glove has jumped up into 8th with 32.326. Farther up the grid, Gillebin is still, well, actually, not right behind Flavor in all reality is Gillebin. He is 10th on the timesheets right now.
The combination of a 90 degrees turn.
Jigsaw's coming into the pits, as do the McLarens. Gillebin retires in the pits. He thinks that he's safe. So JR Footballer is the wild card, but he's way down on time. He's low on fuel. He won't advance. So it looks like Gillebin will advance to the next round, and JR Footballer will not. So with all intents and purposes, qualifying session is over.
So out for Q2 are JR Footballer, Ocean Line, Boothie, Flavor, and Fratters, who did not post a lap, or at least tried, but made it invalidated. If I were the team boss of McLaren, I would be mad.
Well, yesterday in the Realistic League, I'd love to see how hoppy mad you were when the Mercedes camp, when the track went from dry to wet, it took them 3 stops to get intermediate tires on one of their cars. They kept cycling through soft and medium tire compounds. And then when their other Mercedes drivers came in the middle of the wet, they took off intermediates to put dries on and led directly to him crashing on a wet track. So, yeah, if you think the McLaren team right now is having a bit of funny shenanigans, yeah, you should have seen yesterday for the Mercedes guys.
Yeah, well, it might have been a good thing that I wasn't here yesterday, because I've already lost enough faith in humanity, so please spare me the rest of the shenanigans.
All right, well, at the top, it's XR Veloce in the Alfa Romeo, 131.625, by far the fastest time thus far. I'll be interested to see what other drivers can do, though, going forward. Final round of qualifying, about 12 minutes long.
He did post a lap in the mid-131s, so the thing is with qualies, you usually get faster times in Q3 than in Q2, and faster time in Q2 than in Q1. So I'm expecting the fastest lap of Q3 to be a somewhat 131, between a 131.1 and a 131.3, if not knocking on the door of the low 130s. So
right now, the
people
first...
off the block, Veloce and I believe it's V8 irons.
Indeed,
Yes, it
V8
is.
irons.
And
Interesting thing to take in consideration, I've noticed here, there's only one team that has both of their cars in this final round of qualifying. That's the Ferraris. That could work out very well for both of them.
Well, I thought I saw both Mercedes in the top 10, but
Now, Herbago served a qualifying ban, so he didn't even set a lap. And that's the other thing. Of your 3 championship contenders, Gusty, who really needs to rebound fast if he wants to stay in the title fight after having a horrible finish last week, Gusty serving the qualifying ban in today's race, so he's going to be starting at the back of the grid. And then you have the two main title contenders, Stone Shuffle and Shelby. They're both in this race right now. I'd be very concerned, though, if I was in the Ferrari camp, because you have 3 different guys all out there gunning to take you out.
sounds a little. It doesn't sound like F1 to me, what you just said. Well, it sounds more like NASCAR if you ask me.
Yeah. Well, I will.
Maybe rallycross.
I didn't think of that.
Even though boys in rallycross are less rough than I believe sometimes in NASCAR. I mean, Formula 1 does have this image of being a very civilized and gentleman kind of motorsport, so...
It's not.
I don't know, it might just be me. I mean, Formula 1 is not a contact sport, please.
I don't know. I definitely saw a lot of contact between Red Bulls and Mercedes this last season.
Yeah, well...
Well, all right. I will go ahead and say it. You don't have to. I will go ahead and say it. I think a big problem with that is that the cars are really, really bad, and they've been really bad. I would say since the 2009 regulations have kicked in. Everything is all. It's just no. It's no good for. It's nothing with the regulations for the last 12 years have been conducted to decent, proper racing. Either you get stuck in a trolley train, or 90% of the circuits, you just want to use a simple DRS overtake. As on streams, DRS overtakes, well, I'm going to give them credit. On general, they're low-skill overtake. You're automatically way faster than someone else in a straight line.
Oh.
Jesus
Almost
Christ,
for Veloce in the second 3.
Not feeling very good this time around. 2 more corners left for Veloce, though. Will he be able to persevere and pull out a good lap? Really sideways over the curbs.
132.333. That is decent for an outlap, but well, I believe we are for 130. And lucky you! It ain't punching above his weight by sending the first lap of Q3 below the 132s.
Classic Love sets a 32.682, and now here comes the Ferrari teams. Shelby Spark is hanging on right behind Schumacher. So it does look like Schumacher is going to try and give a rap to his teammate down the straight. There we are. They're off. I anticipate seeing the front of these 2 Ferraris pull off here going into turn 2. It'll about make the lap, but if they filled that Ferrari with enough fuel, it won't really matter. No, Schumacher is staying on circuit. So they must think that Shelby is going to be fast enough that he can handle the aerodynamic wake and not lose too much time around here. .33.177 now at the end of Sector 1 for Shelby.
Will cross the line. Full fastest, 32.708. Next one across the line will be V8 iron.
No, I think it is. No, Velocity's coming into the pits. You're right, it is going to be V8 iron.
And V8 iron is also doing kind of good, right?
So now the focus goes to Lucky Do, but Lucky Do is already low on fuel, so he'll be pitting. So then Love is already going to have to pit, so it's going to be these 2, the Ferraris.
Well, that was a gamble and a half. They basically have now the rest of the track for themselves.
Shelby spending the entire lap in Schumacher's aerodynamic wake, trying to use it to maximize his straight line speed on the circuit and get a better lap.
He did close down.
Boy, did that work out.
1:31.91 for Shelby and a 31.876 for Schumacher.
So for right now, a Ferrari front row lockout, but Stone Shuffle is here. He wants to upset that across the line to the top.
31.572. Fastest lap so far.
Jigsaw also on track in the middle of a lap right now, so he'll try and be the 8th driver to set a time. But once again, we see our 2 championship contenders on the front row. If I was in Schumacher's position, I would consider going out there, giving Shelby a tow only down the main straight, and then let Shelby take the rest of the circuit without having to worry about aerodynamic weight. But maybe in that Ferrari camp, they're willing to take steps right now. I wouldn't, but maybe they're willing to.
The thing now is I believe Shelby is not backing down. He's not on the corner line.
Jigsaw overtakes Schumacher on circuit, and now Shelby pulls over to let Jigsaw by. Jigsaw was looking like an outside threat for the title after recovering over about 3 of the last 4 races, but all that fell apart for him in China. While I believe he is mathematically eligible, realistically, once this race is over, he will not be eligible for the title hunt any longer. Still, Jigsaw has, when he's been able to finish races, had some absolutely outstanding drives this season. He's one of the drivers I would not be surprised to see back to going into the next season.
Jigsaw for the line, a 1:31.822. Or did he improve? I didn't think he improved.
No, that was his first lap. That was Jigsaw's first lap. So right now, Plastic Glove is on an outlap, and he has nearly the entire circuit all to himself right now, so that will work out very well. V8 Irons coming back out onto the circuit. He came out earlier, but didn't even attempt the lap. He came into the pits pretty soon afterwards. We're in the last third of this final qualifying session. There's not a whole lot of time left for V8 Irons to make a lap, and DeLebin has also come back out, as has XRL Snake.
So as of right now, expecting, well, pretty big things from Jalen and V8 Irons to pose the first lap and maybe upset a couple of the guys up the order.
Lucky Do is on an outlap as well. He currently has the 5th best time. He was the first guy to break into the 31s in this session, but the top time has now opened up to be nearly 35 hundredths. I mean, 35 hundredths faster than what he's got. I imagine we'll see Jigsaw coming into the pit shortly, so then the focus will go to V8 Irons and Lucky Do being the next drivers. XRL Veloce now coming down pit lane. Veloce, we saw him set times in the 31s in Q2, but he did not have a good time on his first outing in this session. He needs to improve if he wants to try and get that pole position.
He needs to get away as much as possible from that death wobble he had entering turn 3, which basically overheated his tires and forbid him to post the car. V8 Irons, the beginning of his time.
And now Lucky Do crosses the line. He's going to get a lap going, as does XRL Snake. And now on the map, you can see the white dot of DeLebin crossing the line as well. The top 4, Stone Shuffle, Shelby, Jigsaw, and Schumacher, are all still on pit lane. But as I say that, Stone Shuffle is coming down pit lane right now. I think if you're in the Ferrari camp, you might want to consider coming out into the track now if you want to go faster. Same thing with the Alpine camp for Jigsaw. Get out onto the circuit now because time's going to be up very shortly here.
The thing is, even if you get out of the pits now, you will have to do your outlap basically at race pace. It might be.
Here they are. The 3 of them are all coming out into the circuit, so all 10 drivers are going to be on track at the exact same point.
Prime time action. Last 2 minutes of Q3.
All right, well, hey, Peasy, are you a time traveler?
Not much, but I can try my best.
Well, go ahead and make a bet and then talk with yourself a minute and 30 seconds in the future so that way you can win the bet. That would be my suggestion at this point. All right,
Irons. Upsetting the order, 131.720. Gets himself
Lucky
on the
Dude.
throw.
31.616 for Lucky Dude. Now here comes Snake across the line. Snake jumps up to 7th with 32.072. Here comes Jalebin. He'll be the last driver to set time in the session. Not a good time.
133.114. Wonder what happened during this lap.
Well, the good news for Jalebin is that he
Shuffle crosses the line. He is on his flag.
And we also see now Plastic Love. He has invalidated that past lap. He is just trying to get to the line in time to get it. There's 34 seconds left, so I think he's going to be able to make this work.
Yes, he's going to be able to make it. As sorry about that. Plastic Love starts his flag.
XRL Veloce is coming to the line right now. Well, not coming to the line, but coming to the final sector right now. As farther up, the Alpine and the Ferrari
will be able to make it. I don't know about the two Ferraris. 10 seconds. Oh yeah,
10
they
seconds.
will make it.
9.
Everybody
8.
will be able to post lap.
So Veloce will cross the line.
Veloce.
Does he improve? Oh, big twist!
Third, second row for Veloce.
31.658, but there's a lot left on the table there. I think Veloce is going to be driving that he left a potential pole position out. Here comes V8 Irons into the pits. He does not have the fuel to go for another run. Across the line, the AlphaTauri camp. To the top, 31.4.
131.453.
Snake aborts his time. Here comes Jalebin. He's up. Jalebin is up by half a second alone at the end of Sector 2.
Ooh, that is looking good.
No, he lost a bunch of time in Sector 3. Here comes Stone Shuffle trying to get pole position back.
Will he get that?
Yes!
Yes, he does. 131.430.
So on top by just 23 thousandths right now. The focus goes to Jigsaw and the 2 for Jigsaw's invalidated his lap. So the focus goes to the drivers of Schumacher and Shelby Spark. Shelby behind Schumacher right now. Will they be able to improve? I don't think so.
Jigsaw for the pits. Schumacher. And the
Makes
pole
pole!
to Shelby.
Schumacher jumps to 4th and Shelby gets pole position 31.362. An expert strategy call by Shelby Spark. Now, the real risk is will Stone Shuffle pull an Ayrton Senna and dump his championship rival going into turn 1?
On my end, I hope not. If that does happen, we might be looking at a late winner.
All right, well, there's your top 10. The gap in times from the top to the bottom, 1.7 seconds. But the gap from 1st to 8th, only 7/10. So this is a relatively close field in terms of single lap pace near the front.
I mean, considering from the 1st to the 6th, they're within half a second. It's great to see. Within a 10th for your top 3, within 2/10 for your top 4, and 3/10 for your top 5. So we might be able to get some decent racing out of this. But I just remember that it was the Sochi Autodrome, so better not get my hopes up.
Yeah, most of the overtakes will inevitably just be off the back of DRS down the straights. All right, so now it's the 5-minute wait until we get into the series itself. Real quickly, you do still have access to the XRL Discord, right?
Because I felt like I had some connection issues, I just put my laptop into plane mode, so let me just do that real quick.
Fair enough. Well, you don't have to worry about it. I will go ahead and go through the title standings as they are right now. When it comes to the manufacturer's hunt from the bottom to the top, 10th is Scuderia AlphaTauri with 98 points. They just need to earn 2 points, and they will break into the triple digits. 9th is the Alpine team with 154 points. 8th is the Alfa Romeo team with 166. 7th is Haas with 180. 6th is Williams with 187. 5th is McLaren with 196. 4th is Red Bull with 204 points. And then you get to the 3 contenders for the Manufacturers' Championship. 3rd is Mercedes with 274 points. 2nd is Aston Martin with 285. 1st is Scuderia Ferrari with 306. Then you look at the Drivers' Championship points right now. At the bottom, you have Constant Jet with 5 points. So he's gone 2 out of the last 3 races earning points. He's fighting with Plastic Love for 19th. Plastic Love has 6 points right now. 18th is XRL Pingu with 18 points. 17th is Herbago 91 with 22 points. 16th is Wild Nissan GTR with 25 points. Fratos is 15th with 32 points. That leaves him just 1 off of Dave Ewar, who's 14th with 33. Boothie is 13th with 35 points. XR Flavor is 12th with 43 points. Jalebend is 11th with 44 points. 10th place in the Drivers' Championship is Collie Boy with 53. 9th is Ocean Lion 08 with 57. 8th is XRL Snake with 82. 7th is Schumacher SF7 with 83. Then you get into the fight for 4th in the championship standings. Exits the spot has started to claw his way into the fight. He is 6th with 106. 5th is XRL Jigsaw with 149 points. 4th is V8 Irons with 163. And then you get to your 3 championship contenders. XRL Gusty is 3rd with 198. Stone Shuffle is 2nd with 206. Chubby Spark is leading by just 4 points with 210 at the top right now. And again, the question is, can the Ferrari driver who is leading the points make it through the event where he has 3 different drivers gunning for his head today?
We're really looking at some really, well, I'd say a close fight. But since you've mentioned the fact that the guys, I mean, 3 guys behind Chubby Spark are willing to basically tank him into a wall with themselves or not, we're not looking at a close fight. We're basically looking at some close quarter combat. If you know, you know.
Well, at the exact same time,
Damn
all that's going on.
Damn, that is tight at the top.
Yeah, I will say this: the most interesting thing, though, is that the first and second in points, first and second on the grid once again. And this, I don't want it to happen. I want to see a good race to the end. I like both Shelby and Stone Shuffle, but a 1990 Japanese GP is in the possible cards here at the start of the race. And farther back, I do want to say the biggest beneficiary of all this might be XRL Gusty, the other championship contender. He's starting 16th, and we see time and time again in most of these races, one of your 3 championship contenders have a great race, and then they fall to the back, and the guy who normally starts the worst of your title contenders ends up near the front by the end of the race. So this could be a chance for Gusty to vault himself back into proper title contention if the top 2 take each other out.
I'm gonna go ahead and skip to my well, at least to my wish for this race, because that would be a first if I'm correct. A race without the safety car.
Yeah, that's
it's pretty. I know for this track it's pretty stupid to ask for that because the walls are really close to the track, but I'm really wishing the safety car will stay in the pits for the whole race.
Well, you should talk with the XRL heads then and see if you can get Monaco on the schedule for next season, because the game is broken and does not throw yellow flags at Monaco anymore. So,
well, yeah, but that's kind of cheating.
Well, that's the only way it's gonna happen. And that's not a fault against the driver. I think most of the problem is just the curbs in this game are excessively oversensitive, and we see numerous drivers spinning and crashing off the curbs here all the time. I think a full course safety car is almost a guarantee. All right, 25 seconds to go until the race. 2 different title fights going on with 3 different teams involved. It's Mercedes, Aston Martin, and Ferrari in the Manufacturers' Championship. It's Red Bull, Ferrari, and Mercedes in the drivers' fight. Who's it going to be? And to finish first, you must first finish who is going to be able to survive the first 2 corners here at Sachi as we load onto the circuit here. Four lights, 5 lights. And it's lights out, away we go! And right off the back, there's a bit of an issue with Fratters near the back. Stone Shuffle's getting a great run on Gummy down the strip. Lucky Dude is overtaken by Ferocious down the straight. Look at the run that everyone has. Gummy Smart going to the line, dive heavy into the braking zone. There's 3 wide further back in the grid. And Schumacher loses a bunch of positions, falls back to 6. Look at the Alpine of Jigsaw trying to make something happen. There's Plastic Glove. He's sideways. He's around into the wall. He hits multiple drivers. And Plastic Glove, who started in the top 10, is out. And he's not the only one. Schumacher has had an accident as well.
And VSC is out.
Gusty has wrecked one of the Ferraris, apparently. It was not the one he was gunning for, but now Shelby's biggest help is out of the event, as is Gusty's, and we are under a virtual safety car, a full course safety car, right at the start of the race.
We haven't made it. Yeah, we haven't made it through sector 1 of the first lap, and we already have a VSC. Has it been converted to a full course safety car?
Yeah,
I believe
it's been converted to a full one. Yep.
Well. Looks like fate has decided not to go.
And here's the other thing. That's number 2 drivers in the Ferrari and the Red Bull camp, and the number 2 drivers in the Mercedes camp. While he's still there, he's now been relegated or kept in the back of the grid. That entire front wing's off the car. Right, coming to the party right now is Plastic Glove. Plastic, go ahead, include your audio. A great run in qualifying, bringing the Red Bull into a top 10 starting spot, and it all goes wrong before you even get to turn 4. What happened?
Qualifying was great. I mean, that was one of the best qualifying this season, so I'm pretty happy with that. And, coming around to the, alternatives, I accidentally had my ERS on, and I just kind of lost the car turning on the outside. Hopefully I didn't hit anybody, so, yeah.
Yeah, sadly you did end up hitting multiple drivers, including your teammate in spin there, but, rough run. But there are 3 races left, and the next 3 races on the circuit are brand new tracks to this game. It's Imola, it's Portugal, and it is Jeddah. What do you think your chances will be there?
I think I qualified pretty good. I mean, this qualifying definitely boosting confidence, showing what I can do, and hopefully it comes over to the next races. So yeah.
It's a shame to see you out so early, mate, but thanks for jumping in and talking with us. Also coming in the party right now is Schumacher SF7. Schumi, go ahead, include your audio. Started near the front, but not a great run off the line, and ends up with a DNF before you even get halfway through the first lap. What happened out there?
People can't drive bloody cars, what people can't do. No space given at all. Like, you can't win a race in the bloody third corner in the first lap. People should give more space, but obviously people are, what's the word? People are being over eager and a bit boisterous, and that's what I'm going to sound like, because I said anymore. I've been wrong, so I'm not getting my gosh shut.
Alright.
But I do think it was intentional. I think they're trying to teach, they're trying to sort something out. But that's what I'm going to keep it for myself.
Alright, fair enough. I won't pressure you on that in any way. But we are seeing a lot of fighting going on between the Red Bull, Mercedes, and Ferrari drivers, both number 1 and number 2 drivers going forward. I do want to ask, though, outside of that, next three tracks on this calendar, the last 3 on this calendar, are the 3 brand new circuits of the game: Jeddah, Imola, and Portugal. What do you think your chances will be at those 3 events?
Quite good. I like all 3. Done well around them in practice. But I've got a good engineering team behind me. Know what I've got to do. My teammates, and you know what I've got to do today. Just got to bring the car home now. Now I can't do what we was going to do. So you just got to bring the car home. It don't matter where he finishes, as long as it's top 2 or 3. Don't matter. And that's all that matters really. It don't matter lose points here today. Still got plenty of tracks to go. Big season ahead. Still huge tracks to go. So yeah.
All right.
But yeah.
All right. One more question. It looks like you're probably still going to be in X3 going into next season. Do you know if you're going to try and stick in the Ferrari camp? I only ask because you do have the name Schumacher, and Schumacher goes hand in hand with Ferrari. Do you think you're going to try and stick in the Ferrari car into the next season?
Oh yeah. It's the car I always like to drive. If I get in the leagues, I'll see if I can get the Ferrari because it's my favourite car to drive. And I'm a big Ferrari fan in real life, so yeah, I have Ferrari memorabilia and posters and autographs, so yeah.
Alright.
Yeah.
If you want to jump in, it's a shame to see you out so early.
That's right, see you later.
Alright, so now we turn our focus back to the track. We are down to only 15 cars at this point. We should be going green this lap. At the front, Stone Shuffle got a better run down the straight than Shelby Spark did. He took the lead. So your 3 championship contenders right now are 1st, 2nd, and 13th at the moment.
Safety car in this lap.
Also, something else to consider in the Aston Martin camp, they still have both of their cars on track. Boothie is back there in 12th with fresh mediums. V8 Irons is hanging out there in 5th. But Irons and Jigsaw had contact under the safety car. That relegated Jigsaw to the back. I'll likely see the Alpine and Jigsaw trying to make some rapid runs up through the field here. How does Stone Shuffle back the field up coming to the green flag? That's the question now.
So now you basically have your 2 title pretenders, wheel in wheel, and I was about to say alone on their own, the front and the back. It's all going on. We're racing back in top.
Stone Shuffle get a great run away from Shelby as it came to the green flag. The Ferrari is within 2 tenths. Now within a tenth. Is he gonna make a move under braking?
That was a bigger box.
Oh!
Steps out.
Wilshe missed the corner and took the runoff. He'll maintain 3rd for the moment, but Lucky Dude's gonna come around and will try to capitalize. The AlphaTauri can't seem to get by, but the Alfa Romeo is having trouble keeping the car on the circuit right now. So that car, which looked very nice in Q1 and Q2, now seems to be having the same issues it did in Q3 in the race itself. Ooh, Lucky Dude twitched from there. And already a bit of a split has formed in the field. Not able to keep up with the drivers ahead, as holding up the like of JR Footballer, XRL Snake, and Boothie behind. So a big globule of cars and about 8th on back right now.
What about if you also have 2 drivers kind of isolated in the middle of that? J-Bed and Freighters. A 2nd behind the top 5, and after Freighters, extra Flavor 2 seconds behind him. Hey, what's back?
There they are, side by side for the 8th position. Flavor has a bad run to the corner. He ends up taking a shallower line. Flavor gets by, Snake gets by. Boothie's going to try and get by as well. And now is going to go around the outside of Flavor as well, if he can. Side by side, Boothie's going to hold up. He will put the power down, so Gusty now up into 11th as Irons has to pit to repair damage. Lucky Dude, Veloce fine for 3rd, and in the end, Veloce will get it back as Lucky Dude very nearly spins out, putting the power down, coming out 2.
Little too eager on the throttle pedal. Rolled up bit.
That lets
As
delay.
it also looks like your top 2. It looks like your top 2 are pretty much equal on pace, as Stone Shuffle posted the fastest lap of the race. Shelby Sparks is getting his nose, the nose of his going through his gearbox. This is getting interesting.
Down the back straightaway now for Shelby Spark. He needs to be careful because Stone Shuffle is one of the drivers gunning for his head, as also his championship rival. So the Ferrari needs to take a low-risk move to get by the Mercedes. Alright, they're coming onto the main straight this time, and DRS is going to be turned on. That'll work in Chubby's favor, and he might be able to pull alongside the Mercedes going into the braking zone now for the lead.
We might see an overtake going there, or he's going to go on the inside.
He pulls out. He does not want to make a move, not there at least.
It do be a tricky part of the circuit to do that, especially with turn 2, which is a right to left switchback.
Veloce and Lucky Dude continuing a very spirited fight. Ooh! Contact between Lucky Dude and Veloce. Veloce slides off again. Lucky has the advantage on track for the moment. Gusty has worked his way up into 10th and is now trying to get by JR Footballer and Boothby ahead of them. Those two are fighting. They make a little bit of contact, neck and neck. Boothby will take 8th, but JR Footballer is on the inside, not letting the Aston Martin by easy. Gusty wants to go ahead and sneak through now. Can't make it work.
Oh, Footballer going wide.
And that lets Flavor now catch back up to Gusty.
Yeah, looking like Gusty is backing up the field behind him. And as I'm looking through the overall position change, your greatest winner in all this is Feathers with up 9 positions, and the tough break goes to VA Irons, who was lost, set 9 positions.
Gap between first and second has opened up just a little bit more this time.
Lucky Dude, fastest lap of the race.
But a big reason why that gap's been opening up, the Stone Shuffle has been laying very hard on the ERS down the straights. Shelby closes significantly closer on the Mercedes, going down the front straightaway, but again, not pull alongside your race leader.
Right, way out on the outside.
Air Footballer having to deal with Gusty for the 9th spot. Side by side, Alfa Romeo versus Red Bull. The Red Bull gets a bear job putting the power down. He'll take that spot, as now JR Footballer is going to have to try and hold off XRL Flavor.
Oh, all the way back in the back, fastest up to VA Irons, 125.232.
3rd and 4th, Lucky Dude and Veloce have kind of separated between themselves a bit.
It looks like Lucky Dude is gaining on your leaders. Now that Stone Shuffle was trying to defend from Chubby, and Chubby a little bit too hesitating of making his pass for the lead.
He's not close enough going down the straightaway this time, but one thing I am noticing, it does look like the Ferrari driver is trying to get the Mercedes to run empty of ERS. But there are so many hard braking zones here, PZ. It's so easy to recharge your ERS around this circuit.
So we're basically looking at the Ferrari trying to induce a mistake into the Mercedes to make his pass. I wouldn't be surprised when he tries to do that, honestly, on such a treacherous track.
Veloce and Lucky Dude now have time penalties against him now into the race. Here comes Chubby. Here comes the move for the lead. Side by side for a position. Ferrari, Mercedes, they do not make contact. The Ferrari gets in front and jams on the brakes, puts the power down, and jumps to the lead in front of the Mercedes now.
The Ferrari having a little bit more ERs than his Mercedes counterpart, and he's already building some kind of a lead.
Gap between first and second is back up to about 7/10, and Chubby is doing everything he can to try and get outside of a 1-second gap, so that way Stone Shuffle cannot use ERS and DRS to close back in on him. Stone Shuffle is keeping pace though, holding about 2/3 out. Flavor, incident back there, he has gone off circuit there at the start of Sector 2.
And as of now, second is DRS on first, third is DRS on second. We might be looking at a 3-way fight for the lead.
And this would be good for Chubby at this point. Stone Shuffle has to spend more time defending against the AlphaTauri. They can find with the Ferrari. That might give Chubby a chance to open up a gap near the front.
Looking at the telemetry of the AlphaTauri, he is way down on the RS compared to the top 3 race. So he might not be a problem for too long.
Well, the circumstances have now changed. Now it's Stone Shuffle who has a little bit more ERS than Shelby Spark. DRS kicks in and the Mercedes closing on the Ferrari down the straight. But the gap was wide enough coming onto the main straight that they will not get side by side. Lucky Dude closing a little bit. And if these three all keep staying with each other and can't really pull apart from each other, they run the risk of bringing Loche back up into the fray. Farther back, Fratter and Gusty are having to fire their own. Fratter is holding off Gusty for the moment, but Gusty has tires that are slightly fresher, and Gusty does not have time to Oh, wow, that was close.
In the gearbox, that was close. That was way too close to comfort.
Gusty trying to recover from a qualifying ban to put himself back in the title very direct competition. Side by side, you don't see a lot of moves right there, and we see why, because Gusty has to pull out so as not to make contact. Near the front, Stone Shuffle has a run on Shelby Spark. He's looking all over, can't make a move stick though into that braking zone. So Shelby still has the advantage.
Now Lucky is in his gearbox.
But now the circumstances have changed. Now Shelby Spark is the run at risk of running out of ERS, while Stone Shuffle has nearly 3 times the amount the Ferrari does.
And Shelby Spark goes to pit lane. After this Lucky Do, Stone Shuffle will be alone at the top of the charts for a couple of laps.
Soft tires,
Or maybe we're seeing the Ferrari and the AlphaTauri trying to do some undercut on Stone Shuffle.
I imagine they're going to want to throw out medium or hard tires to go to the end of this race. The field's relatively well, not as spread out as I think they'd like it to be, but it's not an instant relegation out of race contention. They will make the choice to jump onto mediums. They might be able to make those mediums last to the end. And even if they can't, they will have control basically of being the first driver to make the final stop. That could work out in their favor. For Stone Shuffle, he's out in front now, but he may have to worry about Veloce in second trying to close in on him. Herbago gets by Boothby, so both Mercedes cars in the points paying positions right now. That's spelled very good for their manufacturer title hopes.
One detail inside of the back here, Herbago is the only driver running on hard tire, on the hard compound. Is he trying to go along and maybe do it the race with only this set of tires?
Well, he will be mandated to swap. Yeah, he will be mandated to swap rubber at some point, but as long as he has... Oh, and Boothby's lost 2 positions to Jigsaw and Ocean Line. Jigsaw has a massive run on line.
And he made a mistake, entering sector 3. And now XR Snake is your highest position driver with the medium compound.
And of note, Veloce is pitting. Snake, he didn't start the race on those tires. Those are tires that he put on after being involved in the lap 1 incident, and he's now going to be up into the second position with Galebin behind him. But this also means that Stone Shuffle is in a great position. He has nearly 10 seconds over second place right now.
So does that mean he gets a free pit stop?
That's not quite a free pit stop, but it's going to be pretty close.
I don't think it is the free pit stop because the pit lane speed limit at Sochi is way lower than any other track, if I am correct. Especially since you have to do the double 90 degrees right before entering pit lane.
Herbago earns a time penalty there in 7th as he's trying to follow JR Footballer. The Footballer is feuding with Fratters. But right now, I think we're seeing the medium tires beginning to get not priority, but medium tires are coming into their own while the softs are falling off right now. And Footballer seems to be struggling behind that McLaren. But as they get onto the straight, big twitch from the Mercedes. The Alfa Romeo and the Mercedes both have DRS, but here comes Jigsaw in the Alpine. He's going to try and make an overtake on Herbago. Can he make it stick?
Oh, that was close. That was also close.
The Alfa Romeo
fight into sector 3.
Oh, Fratter's very nearly off circuit. The Alpine nearly off circuit. And there's made contact. As Jigsaw makes contact with Herbago and now loses possession of Ocean Lion, he might lose a position to Boothie and Chubby Spark now. Chubby trying to find a way around Boothie. Again, Chubby and Boothie, they're two drivers who are fighting for their manufacturer championship as well right now. Boothie squeezing Chubby. He very nearly runs him to the outside wall. He's going to run him into the outside wall.
Forcing him outside.
Well, that was the dirtiest defending I've ever seen. The fact that the Ferrari didn't go into the outside wall is honestly shocking. So it seems like there's a concerted effort from at least 4 drivers, I guess, to try and keep the Ferraris down right now. Lucky Do squeezed by Boothie. Boothie gives him no problem. Look at Boothie trying to run all the way across the circuit into the Ferrari, but Chubby will get by now without issue.
I do feel it's getting out of hand.
Farther up the grid, Ocean Lion has a run on Herbago. They're neck and neck for the 5th position. Herbago still is going to hold on to it, though, using DRS as a defense.
Problem is, Fratters is backing him up. He really is a roadblock at this point. It's been a lap since Fratters has backed up. Well, now to the before that, really the 4 cars Fratters.
Well, Herbago will have.
Herbago.
Yeah, he's going to have DRS down the straight. He's not going to be close. Yes, he will be. But he's not going to go for it. Not yet. But now look behind. That's Lucky Do and Chubby Spark who are closing down on this fight as well now.
What we see? Ooh, the AlphaTauri on the outside of Williams.
He gets him, and Chubby Spark follows through. Now Lucky Do on the inside of the Mercedes in the next corner. So Lucky Do making a lot of high-risk, high-reward moves and climbing up the field with those fresh medium tires. Herbago's not letting him by that easily, though.
Side by side. 2.3 now.
No contact!
And there's a spin.
And Lucky Do goes around right in front of your championship points leader. Now Chubby has to try and run by Herbago. I'm going to say this, with all this fighting that Chubby and Lucky Do and Veloci have had to do, it's worked out well for Stone Shuffle. If he pitted, he would be well ahead of everyone else, and we see Stone Shuffle paying out of the lead now. Stone Shuffle, I think, is going to maintain track position over his title rival.
This will be very close, but might see it happen as he exits his box. And the Ferrari makes plans to use down to the front stretch.
No, I'm wrong. It looks like the Ferrari will still be ahead of Stone Shuffle by virtue of the undercut working out. Chubby trying to make a run on Herbago, but Herbago has DRS on Fratter, so he'll use that as a defense. They're both going to break train. Oh!
Oh, Ferrari backs it out.
Here comes Veloce now.
Was there contact?
Not quite, but it was darn close to having contact.
And now Chubby has a lot of work to do to go past the 3 drivers. Because as of now, Stone Shuffle is right behind him with only 1 car to pass before getting to Chubby.
And Snake is currently your race leader, and Herbago has filtered his way up into 3rd. They sought the choice of starting on hard rubber. Veloce, though, putting heavy pressure.
If Veloce goes on the inside of the next turn, makes the pass easily.
When the opponent is that much faster, there's really nothing you can do. Chubby, Fratters neck and neck going into the braking zone, but Chubby backs out and Fratters makes a mistake, and Chubby gets the spot off of Fratters' issue. Now Stone Shuffle has to try and navigate the McLaren, as Chubby is already working on Herbago again for 4th. So One Mercedes trying to hold up the Ferrari while the other Mercedes closes. This time, Shelby will have DRS on the Mercedes down the straight. He might not even need DRS. He might be able to just out-drag him down the straight, but DRS will get initiated regardless.
And Shelby Spargo passed by the Mercedes.
Oh, Stone Shuffle! Whoa, look at that dive bomb! That was a high-risk move! The same thing that he was the victim of at China. He tries doing the same thing and very nearly wipes out his teammate and Fratters in the process. And while this is happening, Gusty, one of your tile containers, is hanging out in second. Now Chubby has a time penalty he's going to have to contend with. Stone Shuffle gets by Herbago. Herbago pulls over on the circuit to let his teammate by.
But now, big question, will Stone Shuffle be able to claw back the time he lost and catch Chubby?
One other thing to consider is that Veloce pitted a lap later than Chubby, and Chubby's and Stone Shuffle have been eating their tires up and been fighting like mad. Veloce just picked everyone up nice and smoothly. He's hanging out in third. I think Veloce, Herbago's out! The number 2 for Mercedes driver out of the event. They're in sector 3. That's a full course safety car. And Chubby Spark is gonna pit out of 4th. He'll be going by Veloce as well. Stone Shuffle is gonna pit. Lucky Dude, a big mad dash scramble into pit lane now. And for Snake and Gusty, this is the worst case scenario because they will not get the chance to pit. Holy crap. But Snake and Gusty will get a lot of free track position though, because they both end up ahead of the safety car when it came out. So they're basically now an entire lap over the rest of the field.
Well, this took a really mad turn. I mean, I'm not specifically talking about Herbago taking his car into a wall, but just the overall race. We basically have the whole field with fresh rubber and 2 guys a full lap ahead of everybody else. And we might see those 2 guys spin, actually.
I imagine they would pit. If you go ahead, if you're in Snake and Gusty's position, you have such a large gap, you can pit, throw on soft tires, your tires will be 1 lap fresher to the end of the race, and you're going to maintain all of your track position. This race may have just fallen in their hands.
Gusty is a full 30 seconds ahead of Veloce, so they have the free pit. So this
and not to mention,
this starts from the worst to the best case scenario for both these drivers.
Well, here's other thing to consider. Stone Shuffle got into the pits and out ahead of Chubby Spark. Chubby's now fallen to 7th. Stone Shuffle is in 5th. And Chubby still has a time penalty while Stone Shuffle does not. So, yeah, all of a sudden for your points leader coming in this race, the entire event has just turned bad for him. Now we also, here's the other thing to consider, Alfa Romeo is now running 3rd and 4th. JR Footballer is on slightly more medium tires. Those tires will go to the end of the race. And here's the other thing, when we go green, the sauce will be good, but the sauce will be falling off just a little bit in the last few laps. JR Footballer might have a small, not massive, but a small advantage in the closing laps.
On the end, I want to believe you because he's the only one on medium tires, and the medium tires can easily do 10 laps without much of elevation. But on the other hand, these medium tires already have 4 laps in them. So it's a gamble. It's a gamble, and I want to believe in it. So.
Well, I'm not going to say that JR Footballer is going to walk out here with the race win. He has time penalties, and right now it's looking like anyone who doesn't have time penalties, so Snake, Gusty, and Stone Shuffle are the real drivers in contention for winning this race. But JR Footballer might be in a position to make some good moves in the last lap or two of the event with what will be better tires compared to Warren Softs.
So we're looking at I'd say either 9 or 8 lap shootout around the stock shield room. So as of right now, who do you think will get the dub at the end of the day?
I think it's looking like it's going to be a Stone Shuffle victory.
Stone Shuffle for you. I'm gonna put my money on Gusty for these first laps. I believe he can hold them long enough. Or maybe I believe the Alfa Romeo will hold Stone Shuffle like you and should be long enough for Gusty to try to make a move on Snake and well, not walk out with the win, but have a solid enough advance where maybe for the last lap he will get on the track from the Mercedes and the Ferrari. But that's it.
It is a very serious thing to consider. Alright, so it looks like we're going to go green on lap 19. So it will be 9 laps to go when we come to the line. Snake and Gusty do have a small advantage. Their tires will have one last lap of wear on them. Granted, a lap under safety car isn't really put a lot of wear, but it sometimes becomes a game of micrometers.
Whether it be the amount of rubber on your tires or the distance between you and the guy on your left or right. They'll no notice from race direction to pull safety car in.
I'm gonna be really interested to see how Snake holds on here. Snake, a former championship contender in the series, was contained for the title a few seasons back, ended up slipping away from him. Since then, it's been frustrating race after frustrating race. Last week at China, he finally put together a good run, indicative of his old championship attempting runs. He's in position to maybe steal a victory here, so maybe things are finally turned around for this X3 veteran. There's the word, safety car coming in this lap. How much does Snake back up the field as they come to the green flag? What can your 3 title contenders do coming to the end? And has the entire title fight potentially fallen back into XRL Gusty's lap here? All right, pace car is in. Snake trying to open up a gap on the Red Bull. Not able to really open up that well, but he lays on the ERS. Gusty has a way better run coming out of the final quarter. The green flag is out. We may see them side by side going into one.
The split isn't closing that much. Will he try to move? No, he backs out.
Okay, hanging out there in third, ready to capitalize if something goes wrong with the 2 leader. Farther back, Stone Shuffle is already putting pressure on JR Footballer. The fresh, soft rubber. Oh, Gusty's around! Out of second position, Gusty has spun! And that will drop him out of the point fame positions. Stone Shuffle up in the 4th now, and Snake now has a near 2-second gap over Veloce.
Well, there's the one, yes.
Lucky Dude hanging out right there behind Stone Shuffle as well, and Chubby Spark is closing in as well. Stone Shuffle way faster than the Alfa Romeo. He gets side by side with JR Footballer in the corner. He's going to out-drag Veloce down the straight potentially.
Oh, contact! Wheel on the wheel. Veloce keeps position on the outside.
There's contact! And it's the Alfa Romeo of Veloce who's out! And there's a McLaren around! That's Fratters who spins! Lucky Dude jumps up a bunch of positions up into third in the process. Stone Shuffle is now in second. Everything's going right for Stone Shuffle.
Fastest lap race for Snake, 1:34.395.
Snake now has nearly 5 seconds over Stone Shuffle at the moment.
Okay, XRL X3 Race, 5-second penalty for speeding in pit lane. We don't see that every day. So now everything might be
behind him.
Everything might be going into place and some kind of tough break for XRL Snake. He only needs 7 more laps to see the check.
Thing is, there's definitely enough time for another yellow flag to come and bunch the field up, and I don't think Snake would like to see that because Stone Shuffle has been great on the restarts thus far. Shelby gets by JR Footballer without issues. He's trying to minimize the points loss here. The Irons hanging out in fourth right now. Everyone near the front of the field has kind of spread out a bit. Shelby is charging hard. Stone Shuffle is actually closing on Snake a little bit as this is going on. So we could still actually see a fight for the win here between Snake and Stone Shuffle on the last lap. Not saying it will happen, but that might become a possibility. JR Footballer and Flavor having a little fight of their own for position. And it looks like Flavor will take that.
Oh,
Jigsaw way off surface back.
Slice on the rumble strip.
Oh, wow! Jigsaw very nearly spins out there. Gusty back into the points pay position at 9. Oh, and he gets ran into! Booty runs right into Gusty from behind, destroys the front of that car, full course safety car, and that's the last thing that Snake wanted to see. And for Boothie, a very aggressive race today ends the same way it's gone, very aggressively. Snake is probably so upset that he could probably punch a door right now. Probably punch a hole in a door right now. The one good part of this all is that for Veloce, he's able to come into pit lane. Sir, he's going to be able to throw new tires on to the end, so he can be the fastest person on track. And then he can also go ahead and choose to come back on a pit lane right afterwards to serve a 5-second time penalty. This might work out well for Veloce. All right. And coming in at party right now is Boothie116. Boothie, big accident. It looks like the brakes failed, but what happened out there?
Just following everyone and then brake. Everyone seemed to brake a lot earlier than I kind of expected and just straight up the giga. My fault, so it is what it is.
Well, you were having a decent, although crazy, run in the mid-pack today. Next 3 races are all brand new circuits. What do you think your chances are going to be like at Jeddah, Imola, and Portimao?
I quite like all of them apart from Saudi Arabia. Should be alright. Too many walls for Saudi Arabia not to hit them.
Fair enough. Well, it's a shame to see you out. I do want to say thank you for being willing to jump into the broadcast booth and talk with us. Hopefully things turn around for you in the last 3 races of the season.
Well, can't get any worse at this point unless I turn into Fratters.
Whoa! Christ, okay then.
See ya.
Alright. So here's something else. When it comes to the Manufacturers' Championship, the 3 teams that are fighting for it, Ferrari, Mercedes, and Aston Martin, now they all only have 1 car left in the event right now. That's Shelby, Irons, and Stone Shuffle at the moment. So both title fights continue to be really, really crazy as the season goes on. Also, under the safety car, Fratter's elected to pit, so he now has new fresh tires on. And Veloce is coming into the pits again to get rid of a time penalty, I believe. So. Oh, what? Oh, Gelebins just spun under the safety car. That'll drop him to 11th.
Has he lost positions?
Yeah, he lost about 6 positions in that spin. He's now out of the points paying spots. So now Gusty, despite being involved in that last accident, he's gotten out lucky. He's now up into 8th. So the race may not be over for Gusty after spinning out of a top 2 position earlier.
We might be able to restart at the end of like 23 if the Alfa Romeo of Veloce is able to come back at the back of the field.
If we do that, then we'll be going green with 4 laps to go, so DRS will be enabled for the last 2 laps of the event. Snake really not going to be happy with this. He had nearly a 4-second gap over Stone Shuffle. Now the Mercedes is right sucked up behind him. Shuffle has only won a single race thus far this season, but he's definitely been hanging out in the podium spots. A win, though, would really help him turn the championship fight back in his favor without a doubt.
And the thing is, with the points Snake is going to be able to rock it up, even if he finishes the race second or third, I believe this will have the better impact on the constructor standings, as McLaren are 8 points behind, and the only Red Bull on the field now is Gusty back in 8th position. So that's +4 for Red Bull, but if Snake can get 3rd in my opinion, the worst case scenario for him is 3rd. That is a +15, a delta of 11 points in favor of McLaren, and McLaren will go up a spot in the constructor standings.
You make an excellent point. I didn't even think of that implication. So, yeah, and then here's the other thing when it comes to McLaren. Fratters is still on track back there in 12th. A chaotic restart, we could see Fratters back into the top 10 and further McLaren's manufacturer point advantage.
Well, another point about Fratters, and basically the 3 guys knock in at the points door. Ocean Lion, or actual 10th place, hasn't any penalty for him, as Jaleben, Fratters, and Veloce from 11th down to 13th, they do all have penalties. So this is unlikely to happen, but if it happens, it will happen. Yeah, my brain refuses to work for a second.
It doesn't look like the safety car is coming in this lap, so with that in mind, we'll be going green with 3 laps to go. There will only be 1 lap of DRS. And that will be the last lap. Well, this worked well for Veloce because now he's going to be caught up to the back of the grid. Also, for JR Footballer, the scheme to be on mediums near the end of the race, which would be better tire condition than everyone else, it's kind of backfired because all these laps under safety car means that everyone on softs hasn't really burned through the softs that badly. So it's not looking great for JR Footballer, sadly.
Well, in a sense, when you're looking at the tire usage thing, with all of those laps under safety car, which I believe are either 2 or 3, in the count you can take those off. You can subtract those off to all the laps that they did. And in the end, well, GR Footballer has around 7 or 8 laps full tires, which I believe for mediums is within the range where
that's still prime.
Are starting to grid as hard as they can.
Yeah. But at the same time, everyone on softs yeah, it might say, when they come across the line, it might say that everyone has 10, 11, 12 laps off. But we've run so many laps under a safety car that realistically it will be like soft tires that have 7, 8, 9 laps on them by the end of this race.
I believe now that everybody, whatever their tires are running with, are within the range of what they were against the best.
All right. Well, one thing's for sure, we'll have a 3-lap shootout to decide the end of this race. So with that in mind, there's not any likelihood that we'll see another full course safety car or virtual safety car. There's the word safety car coming in this time. Stone Shuffle trying to get a second victory and put himself back on top in the title fight. He is second. His next closest title rival is back there in 5th, a time penalty. All Stone Shuffle has to do is just hang out in 1st or 2nd, and he'll walk out here with the points lead. But I imagine to really put the knee on the neck of everyone else, he wants to get into the front. Pace car in. How does Snake bunch up the field? Snake already shoots out into the last 2 corners. Right away, already opens up a 9-10 second gap on Stone Shuffle. Green's in the air. Stone Shuffle, though, got caught blackened. And now Snake has a big advantage over the Mercedes.
Really nice start from Snake. This is exactly what he needed. With a little sleepy Stone Shuffle on this restart. Now all he has to do is try to open up the gap and try to defend as hard as he can. 3 laps remaining.
Gusty moves his way up into 8th as Jigsaw falls now to 10th. Lucky Do is putting heavy pressure on Stone Shuffle for 2nd right now.
Best case scenario, Lucky Do is able to fight with Stone Shuffle, which would allow Snake to open up the gap if he doesn't make any mistake.
Well, Stone Shuffle is not closing on the McLaren as fast as I thought he would. And again, we're only going to have 1 lap of DRS.
Chase Pond, sector 2.
And that will relegate him to a 13th place finish then, out of the points. Farther back, Gusty, JR Footballer fighting now for the 7th position. The softer tires means that the Red Bull can brake significantly harder to the zones, but Footballer has the advantage for the moment. Snake has now opened up more than a 2nd gap on Stone Shuffle. Gus finally gets around the outside of Footballer and moves up into 7th. Lucky Do is not able to keep up with Stone Shuffle right now. This is not looking good for Shelby Spark. It looks like he might finish 7th, maybe even 8th right now. Worst for title contenders. 2 laps to go.
Looks like Snake is able to hold off Stone Shuffle, as this tires are actually a lot fresher than Stone Shuffle. This might make a big difference as he's opening the gap.
Ooh, Irons gets a time penalty now. That's not going to help.
Well, as of now, with all those time penalties, this might play well in favor of XRL Flavor from the 6th spot. As he is, I believe, between 3 and 4 seconds back. This might actually play well. You might be able to stand out with Gary on the lowest step of the podium, but not the one you might think of. The 2.5 gap over Stone Shuffle. Snake is actually driving the nuts out of this car.
Yeah, Snake absolutely had a tremendous restart, caught Stone Shuffle sleeping, but doesn't have to push too hard. Finishing 2nd while all his towel rivals are 5th or worse will work out very well in his favor.
And now I believe Lucky Do will be in a position where he gets the fighting Stone Shuffle. He is within the RS range. White flag waving in the air. 1 last lap around the Stone Shuffle.
The thing with Lucky Do, though, is that he has time penalties, Stone Shuffle does not, and Lucky Do is nearly a 2nd off of the Mercedes. So while he's going to close pretty well down the straight, I don't think it's going to be enough to really put the AlphaTauri in contention to fight for that spot until they get onto the back straightaway. Gusty, Flavor, neck and neck for position. Gusty gets by Flavor, just barely.
Flavor's tumbling down the order.
Lack of pace race, compromising that second AlphaTauri, but it does look like both AlphaTauris will have another day in qualifying positions, and that will move them into the triple-digit points in the Manufacturers' Championship. Lucky Dude now within, well, just a bit over half a second from Stone Shuffle, but he seems to lose a lot of time on that Mercedes going through Sector 2.
Looking at the standings, we might be looking at Alpine in the standings, overtaking Alfa Romeo as... Oh no, never mind, it's... The difference in points won't be enough that to occur.
Coming to the end of the race now. Stone Shuffle's going to walk out here once more with the championship lead, as Gusty is going to be relegated to a 5th place finish by the looks of it, and Stone Shuffle's going to walk out here second. But at the top, XRL Snake, a veteran of the X3 series, will finally get to return to victory lane in the McLaren, and will be a point stay all around potentially for the McLaren boys.
And Snake gets it done into Russia. Really happy for the man, really happy for the race that has gone from bad to possibly the best, then to a worst case scenario. Capitalized on it, and in the end of the day, it paid off, and it paid off big.
Great job by Snake there. It's great to finally see him back in victory lane.
And his win will also propel McLaren in the standings over Red Bull and put them 4th in the constructor standings.
Very interesting race, to say the least. But that final restart really didn't have as much of an impact as I thought it would. Despite only having 3 laps, the field still got relatively spread out near the front, though. Alright, and coming into the party right now are your top 2 finishers. First, I want to talk with XRL Snake. Snake, go ahead and include your audio. You're a veteran of XRL X3. It's been a long time, but you're finally back in victory lane. What do you have to say about your run today?
It's been a long time coming. You know, some great drivers in here. Fast drivers as well. Stone Shuffle, he's a quick driver.
All right. Well, Snake, you come home with that victory, but real quickly, I just want to say this. That final restart, you timed that perfectly. How in the world did you make that work out like that?
I have no idea. I just went off like the last safety restart.
Well, either way, great job out there. I'm also just going to go ahead and say, with your victory, it will propel the McLaren team up a spot in the manufacturer's title. One more thing, Snake. 3 brand new tracks for the last 3 races of the season. What do you think your chances are going to be like there?
Just try our best.
Say that again? You kind of cut out on us.
Just try our best.
All right. Fair enough. But
The Alpha Male strategy.
Alright, well, either way, great. Now I also want to go ahead and talk to 2nd place Stone Shuffle. Shuffle, it was a rough race last weekend at China. You come back, though, strong with a great 2nd place finish, well ahead of your title rivals, and you'll walk out here with the points lead once more. What do you have to say about this event?
Yeah, I'm really pleased with the result. I could have done without that last safety car. I had to spend quite a bit of time just trying to keep my tyres in the temperature window, and I just knackered my fronts doing that. And I just didn't have the pace that Snake had after that final safety car. He was just able to pull a tenth and a half away from me each lap after a really good restart. Well done, by the way, Snake. That was a great win. Yeah, so I'm really pleased with the 2nd place, particularly with how races have gone of late.
All right. With your 2nd place finish, like I said, you're now back in the championship points lead. The last 3 races of the season are all on brand new tracks. What do you think your chances are going to be now for the title?
So, if it had been 3 other tracks, perhaps. So, I absolutely adore Jeddah. I'm really quick around there. I don't know, the rhythm of that track just suits me. But Imola and Portimao, I just haven't been able to get grips with. Particularly Portimao, there's just so many banana skin corners around that track. I just picture myself just
planting it in the wall, to be honest. So we'll see how it goes.
All right. Well, hopefully that doesn't happen. It's been a strong run to the end. I will say this though, Stone Shuffle, you could walk out of this season. I'm not saying it's going to happen, but you could end up wrapping up a championship with only a single win, running a title off the back of consistency rather than pure pace. So if you do that, I'll say good job on that as well.
Yeah, it's not the most glamorous of titles, that is it? It's like, I don't know, if Sergio Perez were to win a title, he'd do it the boring way.
All right, well, great job coming home in second position, mate.
Cheers.
All right.
Cheers, man. Thank you.
All right, well, that will pretty much wrap up our broadcast here today at Sochi. Very interesting race. Not a great racetrack. I still maintain it's not a great racetrack, but we had some relatively good fights throughout the event and a lot of comers and goers, to say the least. I will say this, though. I think biggest loser in the end is going to be XRL Gusty. Gusty came into this race third in the championship fight. He leaves here behind his two championship rivals. The gap between himself and the two drivers ahead continued to get. I think the title hopes are starting to slip away from the Red Bull team.
At the end of the day, this race on a track where I did not expect much, we did have a good action. So a lot of good fights, a lot of way less contact than in China. That's for sure. And at the end of the day, a clean race, a good spectacle, a veteran that is ending a tough break. Second place finisher that is going up a spot and reclaiming the lead in the championship. Good action on track. There is movements in both standings. It's a win. It's a win for us today. In the broadcast, on the track, everything happened and everything happened well.
Yep, indeed. Well, that'll pretty much wrap up our broadcast here at Sochi. I've been your host for today's race in St. Lear. I've been joined by PZ Frenchman Man. In about an hour's time on the main channel, you can catch XRL Jigsaw as he will be broadcasting the last race of the weekend for the X2 series, where there's an interesting title fight going on there as well between teammates. Until next week, though, I'm signing out. I want to say goodbye.